Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. A nurse is among the latest to die from COVID-19. Trade unionists calls for detailed work-from-home policy. And West Indies women's captain cops ICC July Player of the Month award. I'm Shane Masters. Here are the details. We begin this afternoon with news that a nurse has died from COVID-19. She is 40-year-old Anita Bent West, who was assigned to the Percy Junior Hospital located on the border of Manchester and Clarendon. Nurses Association of Jamaica President Patsy Edwards Henry told TVJ News that Nurse Bent West, who was assigned to the COVID ward, was at work last Thursday when she fell ill. She did the COVID-19 test the same day. The results came back on Friday, which confirmed she had the virus. She became critically ill that same Friday and was hospitalized. She died last night.
I do know that she worked at Percy Junior Hospital. She got married and she left and went to England. When she went to England, she never felt comfortable and she came back home from England and continued. She was re-employed at the Percy Junior Hospital. So that shows you that she was a good nurse. She left in good standing. She came back and she was accepted back into the family.
The NAJ president said that this is a very difficult period for the nurses.
We have to mourn and grieve for our loved ones, but then we have to, as we would say, get up, brush ourselves off, and continue. I pray the strength of the nurses as they go through today and the week, especially those who worked closely with the nurse who passed. It must be hard for them, but we want you to know that the Nurses Association is here. We may have to go and visit and pray with them, but we are here and we have you in our prayers and our hearts.
At least 2 trade unionists have agreed with the planned revision of the work-from-home arrangements. On Monday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said the revision is necessary because some public sector employees are abusing the order. But Labour educator Danny Roberts says a great deal of work will be needed. The work-from-home arrangement is being abused, but it's not one-sided. The Union of Clerical, Administrative and Supervisory Employees UK says some public sector workers have been complaining about being treated unfairly in relation to the work-from-home order. Some public sector workers told our news centre that their supervisors are refusing to allow them to work from home despite the fact that they can carry out duties remotely. UK's General Secretary John Levy says he has received similar complaints from his members.
I've heard some of the comments where some of the people are saying that because the management has to go in, then they believe that if they have to go in, even though you can work from home, you should come there as well. And there are management officials, senior officials who are also not dealing fairly with the whole issue of work from home. There have been comments of discriminatory treatment coming from workers as well, from people that we represent have said to us, that they think that they are not being treated fairly. But where it is possible that you can work from home, that there should be no discrimination.
It's why he says a policy on work from home is needed. Labour educator and lead partner at IR Plus Consultants, Danny Roberts, says this policy should be one that is detailed.
So that the policy is not disadvantageous to one group. Everybody feels that they are on a level playing field, whether they are working from home or they are at work, and that the terms and conditions of their employment are protected. So once you have that, then you begin now to look at the question of what are the appropriate areas that work from home policy can take place.
Those will include the protection of companies' data in the work from home arrangement on the company side. As for employees, he said a lot of discussions will be needed. For instance, would the company provide the requisite technological devices for work to be done remotely?
How do we treat with overhead expenses associated with working from home, light bill arrangements, etc.? Persons who may normally have a traveling allowance and will no longer be getting that because they're working from home? How is that incorporated so that they do not lose any benefit as a result of working from home? Are questions of assessment and promotion going to be less favorable for those working from home as against those who are co-located at the office? All of these are issues which has to be worked out.
While those should be done, Mr. Roberts says that the work-from-home arrangement could be beneficial to businesses, as a study done by Harvard Business School shows that profitability and productivity increases through that arrangement.
So it is something that needs to be examined. It can't be imposed, but you have to train people to begin to make the shift away from a customary notion of co-locating with their employees to one in which they now have to deal in isolation. And employers need to protect themselves by making sure that performance can be tracked and appropriately measured.
State Minister in the Education Ministry, Robert Morgan, is dismissing claims that the government did not prioritize students' education when it decided to relax the COVID-19 protocols on July 1. Sandy Williams reports.
Students were expected to resume face-to-face classes in September. However, a third wave of COVID-19 has created uncertainty about the planned resumption of face-to-face classes. But Education Minister Favour Williams is insisting that parents should still make back-to-school preparations.
Parents should prepare their children, but I understand the difficulties parents have in terms of their financial situation, and so we're encouraging them. If you have a school bag, if your child has a school bag from last year or the year before and it's in good working condition, use that. If your child has a pair of shoes that still fits and it's in good condition, wear that. We don't want our parents to overextend themselves, but we want our students still to be ready.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to look at the numbers, see how the thing is evolving, how many persons are being vaccinated, to see whether or not in the middle of September, as the Prime Minister said, which is our commitment to do, if it is in the right frame to go back to face-to-face. But school will open on the 6th of September, one way or the other.
Mrs. Williams says approximately 17,000 or 68% of teachers have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Health officials had warned that the number of COVID-19 cases could balloon if the safety measures were relaxed, which could affect the start of face-to-face classes. Several stakeholders have criticized the government for not heeding the warning. They have accused the government of not prioritizing education. However, speaking on the morning agenda on Power 106, State Minister in the Education Ministry, Robert Morgan, says that's not true.
If you look at the spending that we've done over the last 2 years in providing over 100,000 devices to students, in providing resources to schools in terms of giving them the ability to purchase sanitization, to do isolation areas, we've spent $1.6 billion also in trying to repair schools, prepare them for face-to-face this September. If you look at the effort and you look at the meetings that we've had and you look at the outline that we've given, meetings of which the stakeholders, including Mr. Wright, have been aware and have been present, where we have articulated what we have done. I do not know if any objective analysis can say that the government has not prioritized education.
In the meantime, Mr. Morgan is lauding the government's summer school program, which he says has helped some of the 120,000 students who were out of classes in the last school year. He says more than 50,000 students were registered, and of that number, 17,000 were consistently in classes.
And we have seen a significant reduction. Probably not as much as we would want it to be, but we have seen a significant reduction in the amount of students who had learning loss. But I caution, though, to say that the challenges that COVID has brought up over the last 2 years will not be solved within 1 month or 2 months or within summer school.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. And we continue our look at COVID-19 and returning to face-to-face classes. Now, with uncertainty about whether schools will reopen for face-to-face classes come September, some parents say they have already started to make preparations for the new school year. Cody and Barrett now joins us live with the details.
Thanks, O'Shea. Now, August is the time when most parents begin to shop for back to school. However, with the lingering uncertainty about whether face-to-face classes will resume, some parents say they are skeptical about buying uniforms and other items for their children. So what's happening about bookstores and how are vendors dealing with all the uncertainty? We went for answers on the streets of downtown Kingston.
For some, it's still too early to decide whether they will be gearing up for back to school, and for others, regardless of whether it will be online or face-to-face, they are prepared.
Well, me don't start, because the COVID going up and I don't want to waste unnecessary money because me make uniform and so last year, and
I've done back to school shopping for both my children. I'm in the process of getting my daughter's boarding stuff ready, regardless of if face-to-face will resume.
When we visited downtown Kingston Wednesday morning, we observed only one vendor with school uniform prepared to sell and another with shoes. According to one vendor, they aren't willing to risk it.
Them iglade, where the warm and wait for back to school and Christmas. They will out already, and when them forget the money, even for borrowed. Even if we borrowed at a loan place or borrowed from somebody. Because them know so when them come out, them are going to sell and them can't even pay it back. All of them people, they them not come out.
As for bookstores, the operators are still encouraging parents to be prepared.
We normally would have a more heavier flow of persons coming into the branch, but it is something that they can't step away from. You have to just try to see how best they can work with it and see how much that they can get persons the necessary tools to study and do what they have to do.
Normally, busy time, I would say it's 110%. Now, we're down to 40%. As I said before, we have to be encouraging parents because some of them still come in and it's like they're unsure if they must purchase this book or whatever. We have to keep on encouraging them that even though you're not sure, you still have to buy the books because at the end of the day, teachers can't do it alone.
But a new development, the Sangster's bookstore is leaning towards e-book sales as an option, staying ahead of what the new school term might look like.
This is basically a supplementary of the book itself, but it's going more on an online base so that they won't have to have the textbook itself. Because some persons learn better while reading from the internet, while some words would work out better for persons when they read from the textbook.
For now, last-minute shopping in September seems to be the plan for many parents as they wait to hear the government's next move. Cody Ann Barrett, TVJ News.
Hospitalizations from the respiratory illness has reached 345, with 35 being critically ill. Active cases have now reached 6,836. Meanwhile, 13 people have died from the virus over the period August 4 to 9. 4 of the deaths are from Kingston and St. Andrew, 3 from St. Catherine, 3 from Clarendon, 2 from St. Elizabeth, and 1 from Manchester. The death toll is now 1,254. In the meantime, 334 positive cases were recorded over the last 24 hours from 1,115 tests. Total positive cases now stands at 55,790. The positivity rate is 35.3%. And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report.
Coming up in this evening's health report, we look at COVID-19 and home care.
Is what we know. So a small percentage may go on to severe disease. We also know the risk factors that put people at higher risk for severe disease. And that owes older age, people with chronic conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, chronic neurological conditions, immunosuppressed conditions such as malignancies. So we do know there's a group that is at higher risk for death and for developing severe disease or complications.
That's the health report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's Healthy Living tip.
If you are sick, stay home as much as you can. Keep a safe distance. Wash hands often. Cover your cough. And sick, call ahead.
Now for the top regional and international stories. In the region, Tropical Storm Fred is expected to hit the Dominican Republic and Haiti today. It will bring sustained winds of 40 miles per hour and could drop up to 6 inches of rain in some places. The system is then expected to move toward Turks and Caicos, the Bahamas, and Cuba. The National Hurricane Service has discontinued warnings for Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Fred is expected to strengthen as it heads towards Florida, possibly making landfall there this weekend. The United States has announced the shipment of more than 836,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine to 6 Caribbean Community CARICOM countries. The countries to receive the first shipment of the vaccines are Trinidad and Tobago, the Bahamas, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Washington has also announced that the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, is providing more than $28 million to help 14 Caribbean countries fight COVID-19 and address its impacts. Further overseas, Sudan will hand over its former president Omar al-Bashir to the International Criminal Court. That's according to a statement from the Cabinet of Ministers. Bashir faces charges of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity in Darfur. He ruled Sudan for 3 decades before being deposed in 2019. And that's it for your Midday Roundup. And it's now time for the Business Minute. Here's Cody and Barrett.
In the world of business, stationery and office supplies, SOS, is returning to notebook production in anticipation of the reopening of schools. The company started to produce around 20% more ruled pads, choir notebooks, and stenographer pads under the Seek brand, which targeted the corporate market. However, with face-to-face classes set to resume, the company will go back to producing notebooks for the school market. Jamaican vehicle market in June 2021 grew and surpassed pre-pandemic levels by 8.2% after reporting a 17.6% increase in sales the previous month. According to reports, 647 units have been sold, leading first half sales at 3,884 units, a 3.2% increase in sales compared to 2020. Brand-wise, Toyota remains on the top of the leaderboard and reports a 2.9% decrease in sales year-to-date, while holding 30.5% market share, followed by Kia, which grew 4.5%. Volkswagen reported the worst performance, falling 4.6%. In business internationally, for the first time in history, America had a record 10.1 million jobs available in June. This comes as businesses struggle to hire enough staff to support the reopening of the economy. In a report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, most of the jobs are in professional and business services, hotels, and restaurants. In June, the number of hires rose by 6.7 million, and the layoff rate was unchanged at 0.9%, the lowest level on record. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your Midday Sports Report. Simon Preston is standing by.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. There is now some contention as to why members of the Jamaican delegation had a 12-hour airport layover en route from the Olympic Games in Japan. Coach Julian Robinson said in a social media post noted that, quote, "After flying for approximately 10 hours straight from Japan, we then threw ourselves down into our 12-hour layover. A 5-hour flight followed by a 5-hour layover awaited us. Then finally, an 80-minute flight would take us home to Jamaica land we love," end quote. When Radio Jamaica Sports reached out to track and field team manager Ludlow Watts for a comment, he explained that this was no fault of the J3A. To cricket we go now, as West Indies captain Jamaica's Stephanie Taylor has been awarded the ICC Women's Player of the Month for July. The 30-year-old is the recipient of this award after impressing against Pakistan in a limited overs tour last month. In the ODI series, Taylor scored 175 runs and picked up 3 wickets as the West Indies won the series 3-2. She also picked up 4 wickets in the T20 series, which the Caribbean side won 3-0. The other nominees for the award were West Indian all-rounder Hayley Matthews and Pakistani bowler Fatima Sana. Meanwhile, the men's award went to Jamaica Talawaz's all-rounder Shakib Al Hassan for his performances against Zimbabwe last month. Hayden Walsh Jr. was also a nominee for this award. To football we go now, as Jamaican footballer Peter McGregor has joined Swedish second-tier club AFF on loan from top-flight club Djurgårdens until the end of the 2021 season. The 20-year-old has been sent out on loan to get playing time. The former McGraw High School player is yet to make his debut for Djurgårdens. He joined the Swedish club from Duhaney Park in February. The Reggae Boys have remained 6th in the August edition of the CONCACAF Rankings Index. Gold Cup runners-up Mexico continues to lead the index, followed by the United States, Canada, Costa Rica and Honduras. Jamaica is the highest-ranked Caribbean team in the index at 6th, while Haiti is the second highest-ranked team at 8th. The Reggae Boys were eliminated at the quarter-final stage of the CONCACAF Gold Cup last month. Jamaica will next be in action on September 2 against Mexico in the 2022 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. And finally this afternoon, Champions League winners Chelsea will face Europa League winners Villarreal in the UEFA Super Cup in Belfast this afternoon. Chelsea will be searching for their second title, while Villarreal are searching for their first. Kick-off is at 2 o'clock Jamaica time. The 2021-2022 season of the English Premier League and La Liga are slated to kick off on Friday. And that is it for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Simon Preston. Ashane, it's over to you.
Thanks, Simon. And that's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.